Today, we're not actually learning a spell or, performing a ritual. Instead, we're going to take one apart, piece by piece, to really understand it. Think of it as a complex system of meaning, a language that isn't built from words, but from symbols. And it all kicks off with one big question.
I mean, really think about that. How do you communicate with a concept or an ancient idea? Well, that's the puzzle that practices like these are trying to solve. They're trying to create a real dialogue, but they're using objects, sense, and even time itself to do the talking.
So, we're going to be looking at a figure named Barbatos, who, in these old traditions, is seen as this kind of embodiment of the untamed natural world. And the whole point of any ritual that involves him isn't just to shout into the void, right? It's to build a symbolic bridge to that force.
And here's the key. Every single piece of that bridge, every little choice you make is totally deliberate. It's a critical part of this silent conversation. It's kind of like composing a letter, where everything matters, not just the words, but the paper you choose, the ink, the stamp. It all carries a specific meaning.
Okay, so let's start building our symbolic structure, this altar. The foundation, the very first layer, begins with the most direct form of communication you can have, physical gifts that come straight from the natural world.
This is a foundational idea, right? If you want to communicate with a force that represents the wild, your first words have to come from the wild itself. So the things that are placed on this altar, they are not random at all. They're carefully picked to represent his supposed control over all things flora and fauna.
And what's so cool here is how specific it all is. Harvested roots, they speak of things that are hidden deep down in the earth, the secrets Barbatos is said to know. Wild berries are all about nature's untamed abundance. Those little animal figures, that's a direct nod to his supposed power to understand the languages of birds and animals. Even the candles, green or black, are chosen to visually represent that deep, raw, untamed earth. Each item isn't just an object, it's like a carefully chosen adjective describing the very entity you're trying to reach. And this is where the language gets even more complex. It's not just about nature, it's also about a very specific, ordered system. Barbatos is ranked as a duke, and in this symbolic language, that title connects directly to a physical material: copper. So why copper? Well, in these traditions, the rank of duke is often tied to the planet Venus, and copper is Venus's metal. So adding copper to the altar becomes another word in our sentence, adding this whole other layer of nobility and specific planetary energy to the message.
All right, let's move to the next layer and see how this all builds up. We've spoken of the earth, now we've got to speak to the air. The language becomes atmospheric. You're literally using scent to tune the entire space to cosmic and elemental forces.
This is a fantastic example of how the symbolic language can shift depending on what you're trying to do. See the two columns here? On the left, under General Channel, you've got your standard stuff, frankincense and sage, used to create a clear line of communication. But look to the right. To align with Barbatos' specific astrological sign, Sagittarius, the dialect changes completely. Sagittarius is a fire sign, right? So the scents become fiery and woody: cedarwood, juniper, clove. The message just got a lot more personal, way more attuned to that specific energy.
And that is the whole point. The purpose of the incense isn't just to make the room smell nice, it's basically an act of environmental engineering. The goal is to create a mental and spiritual landscape that resonates with the message you're sending, to make the very air you're breathing part of this conversation.
And you can refine the language even more, almost like adding clauses to a sentence. Look at the progression here. First, you've got copal and rosemary to ground that fiery Sagittarius energy we just talked about. Then you add myrrh for a stable, earthy foundation, which is supposed to help with receiving insights. And finally, a little orange peel as a solar booster, a nod to attracting prosperity. It's like we've moved from basic vocabulary to writing some really complex, nuanced poetry.
So we've covered what is being said through objects and smells. But now we have to talk about when it's said. In this symbolic language, timing is absolutely everything. It's like knowing the perfect moment to deliver a punchline. So here it is, the crucial point. Practitioners of these systems believe that doing the ritual during this specific astrological window is like turning up the volume. The idea is that the cosmic energy all around is already in harmony with the entity, which makes that symbolic bridge we're building stronger and the communication way clearer. It adds that critical dimension of time to this whole silent language.
Okay, so let's just step back for a second.
We've looked at the objects, the sense, the materials, the timing. We've basically deconstructed the grammar of this really strange and silent language.
And there it is. The symbolic structure is finished. Every piece is in its place, carefully chosen, layered with meaning, and aligned with the cosmos. It's standing there as this complex, multi-sensory statement of pure intent.
This is the real question, isn't it? Beyond all the copper and the berries and the smoke, what's the ultimate point of such an elaborate construction? What is actually being created inside the mind of the person doing it?
And this, I think, is the real answer. This whole elaborate system is really an expression of a profound human impulse. It's this deep desire to connect with something that feels larger than ourselves, to find some kind of order in the unseen, and to create a dialogue with the great mysteries of the universe.
So what we've really been exploring isn't magic in the way people usually think about it. It's a highly structured method of communication. You could almost call it a technology of belief. It uses all this symbolism to focus the mind, to clarify your intent, and to build a bridge, not just to some outside force, but maybe, just maybe, to a deeper part of yourself.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. I mean, think about it. Whether it's that morning coffee routine that centers you for the day, or a specific way you organize your desk to get focused, or a family tradition that connects you to your past, we all use symbolic systems to create meaning in our lives. The language might be different, but that human need to build these little bridges, that's universal.